welcome to Elevator Talks, where we talk about anything in relation to movies, TV shows, popular culture, music, and everything in between. Today we're going to talk about the HBO show Succession. So for those of you who don't know, Succession is a HBO-based TV series. It first premiered, I think, in 2018. I just watched it this year in 2020, so yes, I am very delayed. But I kept seeing countless memes and just like the very famous Matthew McFadyen eating the chicken video, and I just, everyone was just talking about it, and so I was like, you know what, I have to finally sit down and watch Succession, this TV show, and let me just say that I do not regret it. I honestly think it's the best thing I've watched this year, and I think if, the show ends, people have been saying that, if this show ends, like Breaking Bad or like some of the most like monumental, great long-running TV series, like this will go down as one of the best TV series in the history of television. Let's just give a little bit of background about what the show is about. We'll talk about the characters, some of the themes that it discusses, the good, the bad, and again, everything in between. Hey, so this is post-production at Willa. Whilst editing the video, I realized that it was actually going to be way longer than I expected. I like to blab a lot, I just realized. So this is part 1 of the Succession series character breakdown. There will be a part 2, and then I'm pretty sure there'll be a part 3 where we talk about the lessons and, the sort of takeaways from the series. So yeah, thank you for watching, and here's part 1. So Succession is written by, I think, a British screenwriter and television producer or series creator, Jesse Armstrong. His previous works include a show called Peep, I believe. The Peep Show, Fresh Meat, which I think he's most famous for. I have never watched those shows, but I think those were both UK-based series. So Succession revolves around the Roy family. So basically, they're like this media conglomerate family. They own this huge company that has entertainment, news, broadcast, parks, anything you can name, and it's called Waystar Royco, which is their family's company. The CEO, or the patriarch of the family, Logan Roy, who plays basically like a mix, if like Donald Trump and Rupert Murdoch and like the worst person in the world like literally made a baby, like that would be him. And like I have to give a shout out to Brian Cox, who is the actor who plays Logan Roy, who is, I think he's Scottish, and he just plays him so phenomenally. Like you don't understand. This is gonna sound very weird, but during my day, or like on the days that I don't watch Succession, or the days that I do watch Succession, I think about Logan Roy as if he's like part of my family, as if he's like, as if he's this uncle that I'm like terrified of ever meeting. Like I never want to meet him, but I can't stop thinking about him as well. Like I can't stop thinking about, his mannerism, the way he approaches his work, and you have to watch the show.
So let's just pause real quick. Did you catch that sausage throwing scene? Yeah, that one. Well, that's basically part of a game Logan Roy likes to call Ball on the Floor.
Ball on the floor! Guys, ball on the floor! Get down! Greg, on the floor, ball!
Which he played with all the members of Waystar Royco at a Recon retreat to embarrass and take the piss out of them. It's definitely something you should watch out for in the second season, because it's hilariously evil, and one of the many, many examples of Logan Roy's abuse of power, which we'll get to later on. Now back to the video.
I think what Logan Roy's character, who is again one of the main characters, if not the main character, who is the CEO of this whole media company, Waystar Royco, I think what he shows the most is that the people at the top, like, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn, and they have their own agenda. They have their own sort of moral compass. They're also extremely fascinating and terrifying all at the same time, which makes this character just so rich. Like, if you're someone who loves television, if you're a film critic, if you're a TV critic, if you're just someone who's looking for juice, Logan Roy has the juice. He's got all the juice in the world. Then we come to the second main character, who I would say I considered to be my favorite character and also the main character of the show. So I think that it really does depend on who you vibe with the most, because in a show like this, there's so many great, strong main roles and like main players at the table. So that character is Kendall Roy. He's Logan Roy's second born son, but sort of like the kind of guy who, you know, would take over Logan once he, you know, kind of gives up the reins of Waystar Roco. And so the first season starts with that. The first season starts with this sort of debacle between father and son, you know, and this sort of process of Logan Roy shifting the power that he once had to his son, Kendall Roy, who is sort of like, how can I describe him? Kendall is like, he's like a puppy. Like, okay, maybe this is me offensive, but he reminds me so much of a puppy, because I feel like Kendall Roy, just in terms of his character, he's a very sort of soft, loyal, you know, has this sort of like, he's just a nice guy. He's a nice guy that I think was born into the wrong family. And I think that the more that the seasons progress, you start to just see these little bits and pieces of how much he's just so vulnerable. He's just this sweet little puppy dog who just wants his dad to love him. And that is a big running theme of this show, is this whole idea of kids trying to get affection or trying to get acceptance and approval from their parents. It's a very imminent theme in this show. And I think Kendall is number one. He just wants his dad to love him.
Hi, hello, me again. I just want to mention that there are definitely some times when Kendall has shown his ferocious and ambitious side, like wanting to overtake his dad's company like 1,000 times, for example. But I truly believe it's because he's seeking validation and a pat on the back from his dad. But you can disagree with me in the comments if you think Kendall is actually the bad and annoying one. Okay, bye.
I would say that if you had to sum up Succession as a whole, the show really is about Logan Roy and Kendall Roy, the son and the father, and that sort of power struggle. And the show is called Succession, which is basically, I mean, handing over the empire to another child or another individual or whatever it is. So that's just my take on Kendall Roy. He is played by Jeremy Strong, and the performance... When Kendall cries, my soul breaks for him. Like, my soul that's what, again, makes his character so powerful and intriguing as well, is because it's the performance. I mean, the Succession has great writing, great performance, sort of like an office-style camera. I don't know what it's called because I didn't go to film school, so I'm sorry, but it has like a office-style camera angle kind of sort of thing happening with it. And it's just great. So leave it in the comments below what you think of Kendall Roy, but that's just what I kind of get from him. And so yeah, I mean, I was even reading some of the reviews, and I'll try to pop like a snippet of it here, of the season 2 finale, which I just finished a couple days ago. And really, I mean, if you watch, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you watch the season 2 finale, I mean, it really does take you back to the beginning. And I love it when writers do that. I love it when writers... Because writers, they put things there for a reason. And it's up to you to pick that up as the audience. If you're just somebody who just watches and it's like, I never, you know, whatever. And then you get surprised at the end. You're like, what? I never knew. And I think this is what kind of happened with Daenerys. Rest in peace, Queen Daenerys. But with Daenerys in Hunger Games. Wow. I deserve to be fired. This is what happened with Daenerys in Game of Thrones. Is that... You know, apparently she went all mad queen in the season finale. And everyone was just like, oh my god. And to me, after a while, I was like, Daenerys been killing people. She has been killing people. She's not blameless in all of this. Don't come for me. I love Daenerys, don't get me wrong. And I will be 100% butthurt for the rest of my life for the way they killed her. And the way they just finished her off was not it. It was not it. It was not Jesse Armstrong level type of writing. I'm just going to put that out there and say it. But, just like the writers of Game of Thrones, Jesse Armstrong, or any other great writer, if you look at Vince Gilligan in Breaking Bad, like, they tell you exactly who the people are. they tell you who they are. So, they tell you who the people are, and they tell you what the point of the story is, which is, again, this battle of succession. And the season 2 finale will tell you exactly that. There are so many themes in the Succession, from family to power to politics to sort of parenting, and anything you can think of, the show really does sort of address in some way, one way or another. And I think in order to understand that, we really have to kind of go through the sort of family dynamic that is shared. So obviously, like I said, we have Logan Roy, the patriarch of the family, the big boss, the scary one, Kendall Roy. Then we have Connor Roy, who is actually Logan's firstborn son. And this is very interesting, and I love this because from the offset, we are introduced to Kendall, who the audience, the first person you see on screen, even if they die, you remember them because they're the first person you see on screen. Again, writers and directors, and it's not for nothing that they put somebody there as the first thing you see. You see Kendall Roy, and you instantly get hooked, and then you find out who he is, and then automatically, because of the sort of demeanor that Kendall has, you think he's the firstborn son. But actually, we then later find out that Logan Roy has another son who is the firstborn son, who is the actual firstborn son, who is Connor Roy. And Connor, man, I honestly just watch the show. I don't even know how to explain Connor Roy. I think Connor is played by the actor Alan Ruck, who just, I don't know, Connor's the kind of guy that you kind of want to be friends with, but slap at the same time. He's one of those friends that, you just have left too long without checking them, and, he's just whack. So it's because you haven't said anything in the beginning, about their whackness, you just kind of go along with it, you just kind of avoid them. They're the type of people that, you see in a crowd, and you're like, holy shit, they're here, let's get out of this party. We're not going to be here because they're the type of person that's just, I don't know, how do I explain? He's just that friend from high school who you never want to see again. So he's the firstborn son of Logan Roy. He has a different mother from the other 3 siblings, Kendall, Siobhan, and Roman. And he doesn't do anything. And that is one of the funniest things that is discussed in the show, is how he basically is this rich guy with so much money that he literally does nothing. He doesn't even work. When we first meet him, I think he's at a ranch and he's doing some environmental stuff, which, shout out to the environmentalists, but you get the sense, or the way that his work is portrayed, is that he's doing it because he's got nothing else to do, and he's bored. This is a person, Connor Roy has so much money that he's just, he's like the Blue Ivy of Succession. You just have so much money that you can do anything. You can be featured on your parents' album. You can, be featured in a film. You can be credited as a producer. Because why? Because you got the connects. Do you have the talent? No shade to Blue Ivy, but I'm just saying, Blue Ivy and Northwest, these people haven't lived. Yeah, they're already. And Connor Roy is exactly that. He hasn't done anything, and he just has immense privilege. And I think that privilege is a huge theme in this show, specifically white privilege, and specifically the privilege of the people at the top who have so much money that they're literally just sitting around with millions and millions of dollars. I always was thinking during the show, how rich are the Roys? And, in an episode, this is not a spoiler, but in an episode, Connor just asks his dad if he could just send me $100 million. If you can just send me $100 million? I rest my case. That's really it about Connor. Connor is in this relationship with this young lady named Willa, who in the first couple of episodes, there's some sort of hush-hush, sneaky, almost gossipy sort of attitude towards her. It really kind of reminded me, and I think this was written so well and so beautifully and just so honestly, it's like when you have a family reunion and your an uncle of yours is like, you know, had brought his mistress to Christmas party. That's what it felt like. And you knew that there was something fishy, you just didn't know exactly what it was. And then we later find out that Willa, played by, let me just find her name, the actress. So Willa is played by an actress called Justine Loop, and who plays her, again, the acting in this show, everybody plays their part everybody was so well cast. That's what it is. But we later found out that she is actually, I think she's an escort, and that Connor, who is able to pay his way through everything and anything to just a casual $100 million pocket money from daddy, you know, he brings her to family events and he pays her to be there. And everybody always sort of like shames her and shames him for bringing her to the, you know, to Thanksgiving or to family gatherings and whatnot. And he's just adamant that, no, he loves her. Like, he's going to marry her. He loves her. And Willa, as well as being, you know, an escort, she's a playwright and she's working on this play. And in season 2, we get to see a little bit more of that about the play. Fast forward, after this whole kind of like, oh, you know, Willa, and Connor finally goes, look, Willa, I really like you. Please be mine. And I mean, she says no. She says no to him, I think about 2 or 3 times until, I mean, what do people like that do? Until he starts mentioning the money. He goes, well, I have money and I'll fund your play and I'll do this and I'll do that for you. So that's it. Like, it's basically like, I'll pay you to be my fiance or to be with me or whatever. Which Willa is obviously smart. She knows Connor is stupid. Connor is not a smart person. Let's just put it out there. He has many talents that are kind of useless. There's a funny scene actually where, you know, I think one time they're at an event and someone asks Connor, what do you do? And Willa goes, he does nothing. Which, Willa's actually very intelligent. She knows this man is going to throw any sort of money at her, you know, and she's like, you know what? I want to be a playwright, and yes, I will use this to my advantage. And Willa's like, look, if you want to give me your money, I'll take it. I'll take the money. I mean, again, because Connor has $100 million, you know, fucking pocket money, so why not? So that's that. That's the situation on Connor, who, I don't know if I should tell you. Should I tell you? I don't know. Basically, Connor tries to run for president in season 2. Or the end of season 1. I forgot. But he tries to run for president, which is just a mess. Like, I think it is supposed to be some sort of parody towards the sort of like Donald Trump era of everybody and anybody and their mothers who have money just being able to say the most ridiculous, uncensored things and say that they're running for fucking president, which is, it's just so timely. And it's so funny, but terrifying at the same time, because watching the show, like, even I showed my sister the trailer a couple of days ago, and she's like, I feel like this is what people are really like. And I think that is the scariest part of Succession, is that, yeah, you laugh, you cry, you root for the characters, you hate them, whatever it is. But then you think about it and you're like, hold on. Every inspiration comes from something. And I mean, again, the sort of like Murdoch media, you know, mess, if you want to call it that, you know, the sort of the silencing of certain journalism and certain journalistic and the questioning of journalistic integrity. Again, a huge show reflected in Succession. I think they've asked Jesse Armstrong, the series creator, if he based it off the Murdoch family, and he's denied, which of course I don't think he's gonna be like, yeah, it was after them, because I'm pretty sure Rupert Murdoch would sue the hell out of him. But I think we can all just sort of go figure, right? And we can all go figure that the show is about rich, white, powerful, you know, successful, whatever, however you measure success. But it's about rich, white, powerful men and their families and how they bestow and yield their privilege on, you know, the incredible, immense, excessive privilege. So Connor Roy, Kendall Roy, and then we have one of my personal favorites, Siobhan Roy. Yes, Siobhan Roy, played by Sarah Snook, who is an Australian actress. She's so good for that role, so good. She plays that role so well, and she just has like a very sort of playfulness. I think she's like one of the most sort of, she's definitely the smartest in the family, and I think that that's something that's repeated constantly, is that Siobhan's smart, she knows what she's doing. I don't know if they ever refer to her education, but when we first meet her, I think she's some sort of political strategist, and she works with basically like presidential candidates or nominees or senators or something like that, and she works to get them basically elected. So she's basically behind the scenes, you know, controlling the narrative, the media, whatever it is. And of course, because she is the daughter of a media conglomerate chief, you know, she has so much reach and ability. And again, she's also incredibly wealthy too. She is, well, when you first meet her, engaged to be married to Tom Wamsgans. Wamsgans? I'm sorry. Did they make that name like that? Or was that disrespectful? Am I being disrespectful? Because we'll talk about Tom in a second. But I feel like that name was chosen just to add to the humor of like just how ridiculous Tom is, and how sad his character actually is. Like I think he is the saddest character. Anyways, Siobhan Roy. So she's incredibly intelligent, very smart, you know, has her head on her shoulders, knows exactly what she needs to do. She's not one to be messed with, and she's not in the family business. So apart from her and Connor are not in the family business. So they're both are shareholders, naturally, because, sorry, maybe not shareholders, maybe board. Anyways, they both have a part in the company, naturally, because of course their father owns it, their family owns it. But she, I think from when we first meet her, is the most sort of detached from that world. She, you know, she's in politics. She's not in the media world, which I guess as we'll find out later on, the two are very similar. So we meet her as somebody who is adamant about doing something different and just being a difference in the family. She also has a really great sense of humor. I think she loves her dad. She's definitely daddy's girl. And she has a very sort of, as you'll see in season 2, complicated relationship with her dad, just like everybody else. But for her, I think it's more in a way of like, I think she really understands her dad's manipulation best, because maybe she's manipulated her dad herself. I think that maybe girls are able to get away with that a little bit better, because I think that, you know, yeah, you're closer to your dad, you know, daddy's girl, and you learn more about your dad's, she has learned more about her dad's strengths and weaknesses from being just so close to him. Siobhan is really, Logan Roy is vile to most of his children, specifically Kendall, but very less vile to Siobhan. I think he's more sweet towards her and loving, and he calls her Pinky. So even when she's being like really serious and like, you know, he calls her Pinky. So it's kind of like she's his little girl. But yeah, I think she's one of my favorite characters. I love her. Her outfits on the show, wow, whoever's styling her, she just looks great all the time. And of course, I don't want to just reduce her to what she looks like, but it is noteworthy to mention, because most of the people in there are men, they're white men, and all they do is wear suits. And I, for one, appreciate a little bit of good of fashion. And I love watching what she wears. She kind of gives me very like Olivia Pope vibes from Scandal, with the outfits and her sort of demeanor. And yeah, Olivia Pope was a political strategist. So, you know, yeah, Shiv, love her, you know. I think she really shines in season 2. Shiv really, really shines in season 2. I think in season 1, you know, she's a political strategist, she's working for Gil. You know, we found out that she might or may not be having an affair whilst being engaged. She doesn't really like Tom. That was literally the first vibes that I got from her. I mean, I didn't even have to watch the way their relationship unfolded. I just knew it was a sham. I said, this is a scam. This relationship is a scam. It's in shambles. I'm sorry. Call me a skeptic. I just don't believe in the relationship. I just don't. So yeah, there's a lot going on with Shiv, you know, in the first season. But I think that in the second season is where the truth kind of comes out about her. And that is, she does want the throne. She's our Daenerys. She wants to be the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. She doesn't want to be offside as a political strategist. Yeah, that's been fun. But that was because then she was able to just sit on her own throne. She built her own throne and sat on it. But once her dad offers her the potential succession of the Waystar Roker throne, my girl, she jumps on it. At first, she doesn't believe it. At first, she's like, "Are you playing with me?" Which comes back to the way Logan plays his children. His own children knows that he plays them. Just a sheer sort of, wonder. The fact that her dad considered her. On her face, she's like, she just kept asking him, "Are you serious? Like, are you sure? Is it me? Are you sure?" And he says yes to her. And I think it was a tactic to try and get her away from, Gil, who she was being the political strategist for, and who actually was completely against her family's company. And I think that was a dad's tactic, and I think he won. And I'm kind of disappointed that she didn't see through that. But again, it shows you. Logan Roy plays to his kids' emotions and manipulates them, and then they just go blind. Long story short, things take a turn. After telling her that she would be the next successor of Waystar Roker as a CEO, of course, once he's gotten her to quit work for Gil, he just leaves her hanging. He tells her, I'll train you, you come hang out with me for 6 to 12 months. She goes, 6 to 12 months? She said, "Have you not seen my resume? I don't need 6 to 12 months. And then when we learn out when they're having dinner with the Pierce family, who owns a media company that they were trying to take over in one episode, they're like, if you want to do this deal, we need to know a successor. And Siobhan, who has been told in private that she's a successor but nobody else knows, she's just impatient. She's like, "Look, I'm the successor, aren't I? Tell them it's me." And she says that at the table, and it's blurted out, and you can just tell that it was not only the wrong timing, but just not it. It was not it, and Logan was not having it. Nobody was having it except for the Pierce women, who were very happy to hear that she would be given the opportunity. And I think this is where one of the most interesting parts of the show happened for me, which is when Naomi Pierce tells him, "Yeah, we'll sell you, we'll make the deal, we'll sell the company to you in the condition that Shiv Roy is named your successor publicly." Logan Roy, I don't know, it must be a stroke of his misogynistic, sexist, wanting to manipulate his kids' mentality. Literally, a deal he has come all the way, and has done all this dance to try and secure. He would rather let that, he says no to Naomi Pierce. He says he would rather let that sink than make Siobhan his successor. Like, think about that for a second. He would rather let that sink. I mean, if that's not the greatest display of misogyny or sexism, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. So, yeah, Shiv, that's what happens with her. And I think that from then on, she starts to realize that, my dad's fucking with me for real. And I think, because she's smart. At the end of the day, she is smart. Even though she loves her dad, has a soft spot for him, I think that she has the potential to also play him the way he plays her. And I think that she's gonna level up with him. One way or another, she will. Because, at the end of season 2, she is on his side, but I don't know. You can't trust anybody. Father betraying daughter, daughter betraying father, son taking over father. There's a lot going on. It is the Game of Thrones. It truly is the Game of Thrones, but in the media conglomerate world, But that's that. That's the tea on Shiv. Sure, there's a lot more coming on her. She's just so dense and full as a character. Love her. Love Sarah Snook. Great job. Thanks for watching part 1. Part 2 is coming soon once I finish editing it. And I'll see you next time.